there's a specific group of people that like your market, like your product. So find them and find out the numbers. If your market is too small, you might not want to continue with that business. If you live in Ghana like I do, some Ghanaians are very diplomatic, and so sometimes you'll hear, oh, it's nice, it's interesting. You've got to keep asking till you really get what their intentions are. Ask directly, would you use this product? If they say yes, because human beings sometimes lie, the next question should be, would you be willing to start using it right away? Keep asking questions until you get to the root cause of it. Begin thinking about your customer acquisition plan. How do you get to your customers? How can you acquire customers? How do you get your customer number one? Hello and welcome to the Ethel Kofi Startup School. My name is Ethel Kofi. If you are a new viewer or you're an old viewer, you're welcome. Welcome to Time with Me. If you're a new viewer, let me explain to you a little bit what the Ethel Kofi Startup School is not. And then I'll tell you a little bit about what it is. So the Ethel Kofi Startup School is not about motivating you on your entrepreneurial journey. It's not a motivational program or a feel-good program about entrepreneurship. What it is a program, a practical MBA on your entrepreneurial journey. The point of this is to give you the skills and to give you the right practical steps for you to win at business or any other entrepreneurial venture that you want to run. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to ask you to take a minute. So if there's somebody you know that could benefit from knowledge on entrepreneurship, it's stuck on their business journey, wishes they had someone to help them on their journey. I think I'm here for 30 minutes every Thursday to help. So just share, if you know somebody that needs to hear about it, wants to know about it, I'd love that you share on your timeline. Just share it on your timeline so that your friends can also hear about it. Also, if you think that there's somebody that should be listening, just tag them in the comments. So you can either share in your timeline so they can see it, or comments down, their names down, so that they can watch 30 minutes of entrepreneurial goodness. Right. So you've already had a recap of last week, so I'm not going to go back into it. But we spent the last 2 weeks talking about business validation, and we broke it down in 2 parts. So how to ensure that you don't throw money away on a business venture that might not make you money. I'm a firm believer that you should get somebody to be at least willing to pay for the product before you launch. You know, you must do some customer acquisition before you start. So that's what we did the last 2 weeks. And this week I was actually going to talk about customer acquisition, so the plan of customer acquisition. But as I told you, my foundation, if you're listening for the first time, my foundation, Women in Tech Africa, I was working on a 3-year partnership with MTN on training female technology entrepreneurs across Ghana, so from Accra to Tamale. Hopefully we can take this Africa-wide at some point. But if you're not in Ghana, your time will come at some point. And I've been working with the ladies, and one of the big things was I noticed that everybody, in terms of their business model, was just thinking about direct sales. So the ladies are just thinking, I'm going to sell it directly. So I've thought about it and realized that actually not a lot of people know the kind of business models that are available to them, right? So a lot of people think, let me just sell it directly or sell it through a retail channel. So I wanted to, this week, just to go through a list of different business models you could use. Some of them you can even use 1 or 2 in the same business that helps you innovate and helps you sell better and make more money. So that's what this week is about. And before I forget, like we do with every week, there is a Harvard Business Review book. Yay! Right, so this week, because I changed tax, I actually have another book now, it's about business models. But since I'd already decided I was going to give away this book this week, we're giving this away, which is Better Business Writing. So for those of you that have to, write a proposal or, put text on your website so people will buy from it, I think it is a really good book. So I will be asking a difficult question at the end of the program, and the first person to answer it correctly gets the book. So and listen very well. So it's for those who listen through, because the questions I ask usually really random and things I said sort of in between. So listen for all 30 minutes so that you can win the Harvard Business Review book on better business writing. So the tagline is like, engage your readers and tighten and brighten to make your case, right? So you have to make our case to sell, right? Okay, so let's get to the meat of this week. This week we're looking at business models. The first business model I want to talk about is the add-on business model. And people have different names for it, but it's the add-on business model. What is the add-on business model? Let me use a quick example. I know I'm speaking to an audience outside of an audience in Africa, but let me just use a quick example. You know, when you go and buy, and this is for my Ghanaian piece, when you go and buy wachi or jollof, right? You can just buy the rice and then they'll put stew on top of it and you walk away. But you can, and then the woman can say, do you want gari? Do you want jollof? Do you want talia? Do you want salad? It's the add-on model. They give you a basic product, and then if you want to enrich that product, you add on to it, right? So you don't eat your rice raw or your whatever. You want meat on top of it. You want egg. You want plantain. You want salad. All those things that you put on top of it. And so the wache seller has nailed the add-on business model. You sell a basic, so you buy, you know, sometimes you can buy rice 3 cedis, but the things you've added on top of it is like 20 cedis or, you know, whatever, right? So add-on model, you can sell one basic little thing. It could be a product you have one basic little thing, and then you sell add-ons to make the experience better for the customer. And the customers that are not price sensitive will be willing to buy those add-ons, right? So you sell a basic thing for people that maybe are very price sensitive, don't want to spend too much. You sell that basic to them, so that might be your 2 cedis wachi. And then if you have money, you can buy your rice on top of it, your egg on top of it, your plantain on top of it, and then at the end of the day, you spend 20 cedis. But the rice itself is 2 cedis. It's called the add-on model. And Ghanaian women sellers have been using it for years. And then the next model is the advertising model. So we're on Facebook Live right now, and if you're watching on YouTube, it's on YouTube right now. What's the advertising model? You sell, you have a lot of people on your platform. So you sell to advertisers or marketers so that they can reach the people on your platform. And this usually for people that do events, right? So people that do events, people have blogs, people have websites, because a lot of people congregate there. Like if I run an event, say specific to CEOs in Ghana, and I'm bringing 500 CEOs in Africa, and I'm bringing, say, 1,000 CEOs across Africa into one room, the person that wants to sell to the CEOs in Africa will then pay me to become a sponsor at the event. So what they can have the opportunity to speak at the event and target and sell to my customers, and I get payment. I might even do the event for free, but my payments will be from the sponsors, right? Facebook does the same thing. We put all our lives on Facebook. We tell Facebook what we like, what we don't like, where we go, the food we eat, and marketers need that targeted information in order to sell products to us. So Facebook tells marketers, hey, a lot of people across the world, millions and millions of people across the world share their information with us, so we know who they are, what they like, their demographic, right? I remember I talked about target markets. Your target market is on our platform. So if you want to reach them, come and give us money and you can market to them, the advertising model. And same thing in TV. This is a model that goes across. So your product is free. The joke that we have in my office is that if it is free, then you are the product. If you're getting it for free, then you are the product, right? So think about it. You spend a lot of time on these channels and they then get their money. So Facebook's largest, their money is from advertising dollars. That's their model. Now, the one thing I did want to say about this is because this model has become prevalent, right, because of the use of blogs and things, I genuinely think it's not as successful as it used to be. I say if you did advertising 5 years ago, it'd be, but now there are hundreds of YouTube channels. There are hundreds of people that do Instagram posts. There are hundreds of people that do, these other things. And that's another thing, right? So there are people that get paid to, because they have a lot of people following them on Instagram, they get paid to do, to promote a product on Instagram. And they might get, I hear some people get hundreds of thousands of dollars to do one post for, a product, because there are millions of people that follow them. There are lots of people doing this now. And so I think that the marketers also have become very savvy. So there is not as much return on investment, I think, for the advertising model. But it's good if you find a niche that you target, and that people that are in that niche come to you, and then you can sell to marketers and advertising. So that's the advertising model. So you could have a product, or you do an event or a service, and you could give it away for free in turn of giving other people access to your network. And then there's the affiliate model. The affiliate model is simply that somebody sells a product, my products, or a product on my behalf, and I pay them a commission. So this happens in a variety of ways. So I can actually get this quite a bit for my blog. So I have my blog, if you go to blog.ethelcoffee.com, I write on mobile money, entrepreneurship, and technology. And I've been writing for 10 years on that blog. Now, every year or so, a couple of times a year, I will get people reaching out to me and say, oh, if you could just put our products, and there are a couple of companies in this country, in Ghana, that reached out to me. I will not name names. That said, oh, if you could write a blog post and then just talk about our product and put the link to our product. So if they click on it and go and buy, because a lot of them are online, they go and buy, and then you get a percentage of that sale. Now, I choose not to do that because I've written a blog for 10 years. It's about things that I care about. I don't want to write about things that I don't care about. So I don't care about other people's products, and so I don't write about it. But a couple of times a year, I get this, and some people do this quite a bit. So they might they might put a link to somebody's products, and if you go from that link and buy from them, then they make a commission of it, and you could sell your product that way. You could get somebody else who's really popular, who has a website, who has a blog, and they have a link, and they can sell on your behalf, and then they can sell on your behalf, and from there you split the commissions. So that's a business model you could use. The next one is the auction model. So I don't know that a lot of people across Africa use eBay, but I know there are some Africa auction sites. So auctions, if you know what an auction is, it's like, there's an impounded car, people raise prices till the highest winner wins, right? And you can bring that into your business. So the auction model is really useful, I think, for things that are rare, right? So if you're selling a rare item, like only one, this, nobody else has this is one thing, or you're selling products that maybe fast-moving consumer products that are maybe going to expire really soon. So I know of a woman that has a business where she works directly with the big brands, so baby brands, that are maybe that have something that you could use in 2 weeks, but it's expiring. You could use in a week, but it's expiring in 2 weeks. And then she has a time that she opens it up on the website, and people bid on it. So something that you could get $50, you can go get it. You can see it for $5, and people will bid. It start from a bidding of $1, and they can bid till they hit $10. So you still got a discount because there are lots of people bid on a product to buy, and one person won, and instead of a $50 thing, you got a $10 thing. Or it's a very rare item, and so people are very passionate about it and willing to spend a lot of money, and will keep bidding a higher and higher cost until they get it. You could use that. You could use an auction. You could use an auction model. Then one of my favorite models, which is the bait and hook model. The bait and hook model is a little bit, it sounds a little bit sinister, but it's not really. It's about you know those razor blades that you've got to buy refills of the razor blade, but you've got to buy refills of razor blades to keep it sharp, right? So that's the bait and hook model. So you sell them one thing, but they have to buy the consumables from you. So it happens also in the medical profession. So for instance, with diabetics, right? So the thing they use to test their blood, you get the machine and you buy the machine, but you have to buy the consumables that you use to test for their blood. And that's also very useful. You can, if you have a manufacturing product, can you sell, you know, a framework or something, and then people buy refills, right? So you have one thing you sell them which contains, you know, whatever it is, then you buy refills over time. Even water, right? So what do you call it? You can buy like a bottle of water and drink it, or you can buy that refill container and then you send it back for them to refill it. So the person, or some people actually can refill it in your house, right? So you have the whole big refill thing, I don't know what it's called, dispenser, there you go. And then people come and refill it for you. So that you see the two distinct business models, which is direct sales, which is I go and buy a bottle of water, or I have a dispenser, so you bought the dispenser, and then you have somebody that comes on a weekly basis and then replenishes the dispenser. That's called the bait and hook model, which is you've given them one thing, you've sold them one thing, and then you get recurring income from selling them the consumables on top of it. So think of the product you have and think of, is there a way I can sell one part of it and then sell the other part as consumables? Like even with manufacturing, I find that a lot of, there's a lot of sort of hair products and skin products that are coming out of Africa right now. And also people are just doing direct sales. I really think that if you can sell them some sort of like dispenser and then every month you refill for them, you know that every month you're getting money from the client instead of, okay, they finish using your cream and then they have to remember to come to a store to come and buy. But that you've hooked them. So even if they do it 2 or 3 times, you've hooked them and you know they're using your product always. It's something to think about. And which remind you of the book again. So I'm going to ask a question at the end of the program. Better business writing. So how to hook your clients and get them to, if you're writing proposals, if you have to write on your website, how to get people to buy from you. So ask a question at the end of the day. Then this is the model we all know, the direct sales model, right? It's this one. I come to you, I tell you to buy from me, and you buy or you don't buy. Direct sales model. Or I have a shop and you walk into my shop and you buy it. That's, I suppose, the most used business model because it's I suppose the simplest. And that's one of the business models. You use it all the time. In these models, you always have to find production efficiencies because there are things around, you know, paying the salespeople, getting the retail space, being the channel that distributes. It sometimes gets expensive as a direct sales channel, but it works in some industries, especially when you're selling complex, high quality things. I think direct sales makes sense. If it's a big ticket item, you maybe have to go through a sales cycle and work with somebody to get to the place where they buy from your direct sales model. Especially if the sale is complex, then the direct sales model makes sense. So like I, have a technology company, Adele IT Technology Consulting. And when you're selling software, it's not just one person you're selling it to a whole business. There are different people that use that software within the business. And so sometimes you're even though it's one sale, you're selling to 5 or 6 different people with different needs in that same business. And direct sales makes sense in that way because sometimes it's a complex sale and sometimes you have to customize the system extra. So that makes sense. And then there's a franchise model. The franchise model works really well when you built a strong brand or you have a brand that's in demand and you want to take it to different places, but you don't want to have to do the cost yourself. So for instance, Nando's, if you're in South Africa, you'll get it right. Nando's, Pizza Hut, McDonald's. It's a franchise. So you go and you buy it, you go and buy a franchise from the person that owns it. So they tell you, this is how you make Nando's chicken. You must always keep this recipe. This is what you must do. This is what you must do. And you can now, and then you have permission. You buy the franchise. You have permission to use their brand on your shop, and you call it Nando's or you call it McDonald's. And people come in and they know they get the same exact McDonald's in the US as they will have in Mauritius or in Ghana or in Nigeria, because it's a franchise, right? And so that's very good for if your brand, if you've got a really strong brand. For instance, with Women in Tech Africa, we're in 30 African countries globally, or techie countries globally. And we do that very much through a franchise model. So there are people in different countries that have permission to use our branding, permission to do events on our behalf because they have the franchise. And you know that if you go to a Women in Tech event in Cape Verde, and you go to a Women in Tech event in China, the people might be different, but you will get the same quality. So part of it is build the brand, and then you can get other people to do the work. So my beeper has just gone off. You can get other people to do the work, and then you can make money off it, and then they make their profit. So they pay you your franchise, and whatever they make on top of it is their profit. The next one is the low-cost model, which is a very interesting model, which is for very price-sensitive customers. So this example is not pertaining to Africa, but let me use it. So Ryanair in the UK, before, if you need to travel like short haul flights, so if you need to travel from the UK to Ireland, which is like 40 minutes, if you use the normal sort of flights, you're spending 500 to 1,000 pounds on a 45-minute flight. Ryanair came into the market and they said, look, how can we sell the cheapest flight? So you can get a ticket for $150, 150 pounds, right? You can get 50 pounds. And how do they do it? They cut out all the fats, right? So they don't give you food on the plane. You're not even water. You are not even getting water on the plane. They don't have. You print your own boarding pass. So you don't come there. They print the boarding pass for you. They hire very, what they pay. They don't have a lot of air hostesses. They don't pay they don't have like Emirates type hostesses where they get paid a lot of money. They pay, and then they don't have a lot of offices. They have really everything you need to do. You can do it online. And so you get really, really stripped down service. So if you are a student, right, which I was at the time that I lived in the UK, if you're a student or you don't have a lot of money, think about how much more. So now that even though they're selling at a small price, they have large numbers of people that use the service and they make their money back. So you really strip down the service to the bare minimum, right? So let's take it, for instance, you have a restaurant and you have air conditioning, you have the best staff, you have this and this and this, right? You have all the things that make the dining experience wonderful. And so the stripped down version of that is it's serve yourself buffet. There's only one person at the door. If you are hungry and you don't have money, you're going to go there. And there are going to be more people that go there, right? So if you go to the high exclusive restaurant and the cutlery has platings and whatever on it, you maybe spend $100 on lunch. And then I remember this because I was a student, and when I was a student in the UK, I used these services a lot. You go to all you can eat for $5. And when you even get there, there's like one person sitting in the room, they've cooked the food, everything is serve yourself, it's $5. And all the, I was all the master students, you see all of us are there, £5. How much can you eat, right? And they have like 4 things, and that's it, right? So you can really look at stripping down. So for very price sensitive customers, strip down to the minimum of what they need. Really, if you're hungry, what you need is to eat. So if you can just provide the ability to eat, and that's it, right? You strip out all those other things and you get a larger number of people, but for a smaller cost. And then for those ones, if you, for instance, you turn up at the airport late or whatever, then they charge you for those things, right? So it's very important that you remember with the strip down costs, they are very, very stringent about when you want to customize it a little bit. Okay, Then we know pay-as-you-go model, right? The pay-as-you-go model, when you have a mobile phone and you do a scratch card, that's a pay-as-you-go model. You have a product, and every time you need, you top up. Every time you need, you top up. That's a pay-as-you-go model. And then my very, very favorite revenue model, is subscription model, which is recurring revenue model, which is you aim to secure the customer in a long-term contract. So they are paying you yearly. They are paying you, like I work in IT, so I have a technology firm. I'm the fan of yearly annual licenses, right? So every year I am providing you the service of maintaining the system, and you give me an annual license fee. That's brilliant, and that works. Or if you take it online, if you have an online product, I pay monthly for the service. So your money comes recurring. If you make the sale once, your money comes recurring. It's my very, very favorite revenue model. It means that if you make one sale, the total, what do you call it? The average, they call it Apple, right? The average revenue per user. The average revenue per user over time increases, because they are coming back and they are spending over and over again. So we've talked through all the models, and this is not exhaustive. So I actually have a book, when I was preparing for this, there's a book that has 100 business models, but I think the ones that are, that meet our need, that are a bit more high level, and I've talked about it. The last one is, and this is not an ethical business model, but it's good to talk about anyway. They call it the pirate business model, which is I hijack something from you and ask you to pay. That's what hackers do. Hackers will hijack your data close your system, hijack the data on your corporation and say, pay me. I'm not saying do it. It's not ethical, but it's also a business model. So they tell you that, and I think there was a few months ago, I forget what it's called now, it was a virus that was spreading across. They hijack your system and they say, pay us $200 and we will open your system up to you. It's a business model. It's not ethical, but it's a business model. So we'll go back to the book. I'm trying to hit under 30 minutes, because last week we were at 44 minutes, which is a bit too long for this program. So to win the book, here is my question. You've heard about the add-on business model. Can you tell me about a business model that you can see right now around you or in your community that uses the add-on business model? Fast fingers. The person that answers first has access and will win the business writing book. I don't know if I have a little bit of time. I'm going to try and see if I can look at questions. Okay, I'm not seeing. I think every time I check this, I'm not seeing. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions, but do ask me if you want to reach out. You can find me at www.ethelcoffee.com or contact@ethelcoffee.com. My team receives the email. I don't get it directly, but they will filter it out and it will get to me. You can find me at Instagram at ethelcoffee, Twitter at ethelcoffee, Facebook Ethel D Coffee, I think, yeah, Ethel D Coffee, and you can reach out and you can ask your questions. I was convinced to create a WhatsApp group, so I'm going to put the link up on my website and on my channel. So if you come to either Twitter or Facebook, you'll be able to access that link and join the WhatsApp group. I'm going to try and do Q&As there every week, so that if people have questions from here, we can answer them in there and share them the week after. So it's been good hanging out with you at the Ethel Coffee Startup School today. My name is Ethel Coffee. I hope you learned a lot and you enjoyed yourself from this week. And I will see you again next week. Have a lovely weekend. A lot of entrepreneurs say, I sell to everybody. That's not true. You don't sell to everybody. You don't sell to everybody. There's a specific group of people that like your market, you like your product. So find them and find out the numbers. If your market is too small, you might not want to continue with that business. if you live in Ghana like I do, some Ghanaians are very diplomatic, and so sometimes you'll hear, oh, it's nice, it's interesting. You've got to keep asking till you really get what their intentions are. Ask directly, would you use this product? If they say yes, because human beings sometimes lie, your next question should be, would you be willing to start using it right away? So keep asking questions until you get to the root cause of it. Begin thinking about your customer acquisition plan. How do you get to your customers? How can you acquire customers? How do you get your customer number one?